Back, ladies and gentlemen, to Manton's Music Box with me, your VJ, Manton Bailey. This week we are speaking with Rodney Sharkey, the director of the new musical Hair. It was performed last Thursday in Salamis, in the auditorium in Salamis, and it will be performed this Wednesday in Kyrenia, at the castle in Kyrenia. That's this Wednesday in Kyrenia. Now, we've been speaking about the earlier days of the production. So Yuli came to you, Yuli Lerner came to you and said she wants you to do the musical.
Yeah.
Then what happened? What did you do from there? You agreed and...
I agreed because I thought the idea was like preposterous. It's one thing when you see a show, you see the finished show. Yeah. So you see it's a 7-piece band and a 20-piece chorus and 8 actors and a dance troupe, all of these things. You take it in total. But we started from scratch. Nothing, zilch.
No actors?
No, she stuck up, Uli stuck up a couple of posters, A4 sheets around the university, and the first core group of 5 or 6 people who came to see me were the 5 or 6 principals. Asli,
yeah,
who had been in Jesus Christ Superstar, Rasim, and their friends Alper, Baris. They were the first 4 people to come visit me in the office and say, we'll do something. And as it turned out in the end, they were 4 of the main principals.
They stuck with it from the beginning? From
the beginning all the way through, yes. And they stuck with me screaming and shouting at them and basically being abusive for the last month or so, and they did a terrific job.
Why did they do that? Why did they want to do it? And why did they stick it out, you know? Do you know, do you have any idea? Do they just want to be on stage? Or because it takes a lot of passion to be able to, what was it, 6 months of practice? How long was it?
No, 2.
2 months of practice?
Less than 2.
But when did the idea come about then?
February.
Oh, so you've only had 2 months to practice?
Not all. She only mentioned it in February. I think she stuck up the posters in March. People started to come to see me in March, and we began working on in April.
So it's been 2 months of...
April, May, and a week of June is all we had.
All right, so you had the first 4 people, and they've stuck...
And then I went looking for people.
Yeah, the rest, how did you find them?
I said to the principals, I'm speaking about them, we need to get a band.
Yeah.
And it's strange in this place because everybody knows everybody. I say, for example, we need a good drummer and a good bassist.
Yeah.
And I'm given a couple of names. Well, you have a choice between A, B, and C, A, B, and C, this kind of thing. And luckily, have you ever seen the film Shakespeare in Love?
No, I didn't watch it, unfortunately.
There's a scene,
yeah,
and there's a producer.
Yeah.
And it would appear that their production of Romeo and Juliet is going to be a complete disaster. And everybody in the cast and crew keep coming to the producer at one stage and saying, it's not going to work. And he's real relaxed, and he just keeps saying, it'll work, it'll work. And they say, how can it work? And he goes, I don't know, it's a mystery, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's the way these things work. We found the people. They came. I went looking for, I knew, for example, when Rasim came to me, that he would be Claude from the original musical. I knew that immediately, because in terms of directing, yeah, and with the strengths and weaknesses of directing, I think, and I want to, okay, well, it doesn't sound particularly modest, but I think my strength, the advantage in terms of direction, is that I'm a good judge of talent for parts.
And that's important.
Yes.
That's very, very important, because you can give the parts immediately and you know who can do their best in which role.
Yeah, so I knew that once I had Rasim, I had Claude, I had Asla, I had that character Jesse, so I needed a John Berger, and I had to go looking for him.
How did you find him?
I went wandering around the university and I just looked and I watched.
Is that how you did? See, that's what I always think how people should do. Just go around and just look at people and see who can.
I looked and watched, and I saw Rami, and I mentioned it to Uli, and she knew him. She had met him, and she said, he can sing. Yeah. So then I knew, okay, well, if he can sing, he's good for the part. Yeah, and that's the way it goes. And then the band people wandered in, say, Chure came wandering in one day, Altug, the drummer, we believe you're doing a musical, we'd be interested.
They were great, the band was great. The band played really well in the musical, the drummer especially.
And they have never played together before.
Were they from the university?
Yeah.
They're in the music department.
Emre, the lead guitarist, is from the music department. Eileen is a former communication student, and now she's in the literature department. Zainem is in the prep school. Suna is, I have no idea, international relations or something. Alper, no idea. Chure is in architecture, and Cagdas is in political science.
So they're not even the music department?
No.
They're just a bunch of students?
Yeah, just a bunch of talented students, yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. And you put them all together.
Yes.
Did you have to Did a lot of people leave during the production of the musical? Did a lot of people come and go, or was it set?
Some people, not a lot. Some people. You always get that. You can't. There's a group dynamic, and you hope when you begin that everyone will see it through. Yeah. But you do get a lot of conflicting egos and a lot.
Were there a lot of fights and this stuff during the musical?
Yeah, there were a lot of fights, and I probably started most of them. But also, that's also part of the process. It's not, if you direct a show of this size, you cannot expect by the end of it that everybody in the show is actually going to like you. That's not the point.
Of course.
The point is that you put on as good a show as you can.
Yeah.
And I think, having done this show, that I've worked with a terrific bunch of people, and we're still all friends, which is really saying something.
Nick, if you do something like this again, would you use the same group, do you think?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, I would. Certainly.
All right, we're going to take a short break for a video clip. We'll be right back. You're watching Menson's Music Box with me, Manson Bailey. We've got a video clip. We'll be back. As you know, we're sitting with Dr. Rodney Sharkey, the director of Hair. And I would like to speak about that.
The musical event.
The musical event. Director, that's what I've been calling you. Right. But are you just a director?
At the student level, in terms of student activity, you're rarely, in a show like this, you're rarely just the director.
It's hard to just give a name like that for a position. What did you do?
In the same way that the cast weren't simply just acting. You know, some of the cast, they had their performances to look at, but they did other things, odd jobs. They got props together.
Oh, so everyone just worked as a team?
Everyone most people.
Yeah. What did you do then? What was your... Okay, you found the actors, like we talked about before. Yeah. You found all the actors.
Found the actors, found the band, recruited a chorus, recruited a dance troupe, made hundreds and hundreds of cassette tapes. Decided on
cassette tapes. What was that for?
To give everybody in the musical a copy of the music.
So everybody goes home and listens to it, and then.
Yeah, exactly. And they familiarize themselves with the songs. First of all, there's 32 songs in the original musical. Yeah. And it was logistically impossible for us to do that. So I cut it down to 10. And I wanted to cut the show down to 90 minutes, because at the moment, given that it was in English, means that there would be a large communication barrier for a number of people. Your conventional Hollywood blockbuster now runs to exactly 90 minutes. So the attention span of a contemporary audience, unbeknownst to themselves, is 90 minutes. Ourselves included. You find if you're watching a film and you get bored, it's usually on the 90th minute mark. So I want to cut it to 90 minutes. I looked at the film, which is nearly 3 hours long. And you decide, so if you're going to direct something, it's going to be laborious, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be lots of periods where you're fed up and you wish you weren't doing it and anything. So some pleasure that you get out of the job was, like, for example, was rewriting the script.
You rewrote it?
Yes.
The whole
I cut it down to 90 minutes. We had to sort of pastiche together essential scenes. And I wanted to modernize it slightly. Because I feel that the hippie ethos of the 60s is a very earnest and sincere sentiment, but it's maybe slightly out of place now in the 21st century, and I wanted it to bring a certain edge to the original that wasn't there.
But the concepts that you used are international, and they're contemporary. You know, the girl, what was her name? The lead female, who was pregnant.
Jessie.
Yeah, Jessie. Yeah. Asli. All these problems that the kids have. I think all students can relate to these still, you know.
There's another thing. There's something else that happens when you do art. Is that it's a process, and you're going through the process. You're, say, putting a script together, ideas together, and sometimes it's as though they come out of the air, or you work towards achieving certain things because you want to make a certain point, like that maybe about relationships and whatnot. Then you do the show. And you relax, and a distance is introduced. And then you look back at the work, and now I look back at the script for Hair, and I'm fully aware that there was a lot of what's going on in my life at that time while I was writing it is actually there on the page. And I didn't realize it until Thursday night when I saw them do it on the stage.
You're like, oh, that was me.
I was going, check that out.
Really, you did that? You put some of your own...
But no, I wasn't fully aware of it. It was part of the... And it's not just me, it's maybe what's going on with other people, and what's going on at a broader cultural level, and so the conditions that we find ourselves in here in Cyprus and things. Extraordinary that it's an old-fashioned idea
Yeah.
It's a very old-fashioned, and it's quite a romantic idea, but it's something that is constantly reconfirmed for me whenever I do something artistic, some sort of performance, that you're just a channel for ideas that you're not fully aware of.
Oh, they just flow
You're
through
a filter. They come through you,
Yeah.
and then when you have a bit of distance, you look back, you can see what was happening. You weren't aware of it at the time.
So are you saying that some of the ideas actually came from Cyprus? Your
yeah.
experience in Cyprus?
Yeah, yeah, certainly.
So it's kind of Cypriot hair?
Yeah, it is in some respects, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a short break then. We got a video clip. We got more from Dr. Rodney Sharkey, the director of hair. Stay tuned to Menton's Music Box right here on Dow TV. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Menton's Music Box right here on Dow Television. We're sitting here with Dr. Rodney Sharkey, the director of the musical Hair. The musical will be performed Wednesday evening, 15 past 8 in the Kyrenia Castle. That's Wednesday, 15 past 8, quarter past 8 in the Kyrenia Castle. It was performed also on Thursday for those of you in Famagusta who have seen it. It was a great musical. And I want to speak about that now. What response did you get from the crowd after the musical?
Terrific.
After the thing? It was great?
Wonderful, yeah. Well, not just after the show, from the moment the show began. The audience were terrific. I had taken the chorus out on a number of occasions to high schools, for example.
Yeah.
So they got some public airing on the songs, because most of them were students and they'd never sung publicly before. Yeah. So we'd go to high schools for these kind of end of semester college events.
Yeah, there's some parties.
Yeah, parents watching their kids dancing and singing.
Yeah.
And the response that we got to, on 2 occasions they went and they did 2 songs, the response was muted.
Just silence?
Yeah, not silence, but sort of white.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of thing. And I explained to them, because they weren't bad, you know, they put on good shows. I thought to myself that perhaps at a certain level the musical will get a muted response because, well, first of all, because it's in English.
Yeah.
So there'll be communication difficulty. And also, because it's a type of music that a lot of people are unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
The music in Hair is extremely difficult, and that's why the band did so well. Yeah. These are not your standard 3-minute pop songs. Anyone who was there on Thursday with the musical ear will recognize that immediately.
Yeah, I can say that.
The songs are extremely complex.
Yeah.
And it's almost like putting 7 solo instruments together. So to the ear, to the ear at a first run through. The music is quite difficult. So I had these reservations, and I told the cast beforehand, I said, you're really going to have to work on the audience to try and get them into it.
And the lead role, what was his, I'm so bad with names, but the lead role, the blonde guy.
The blonde guy, Rasim.
Rasim.
Yes.
He did well doing that. I mean, even the opening, it was great. The way he came on stage and actually just talked with the audience, loosened everybody up, and then began to play.
Well, we wrote that bit. I wrote that bit particularly for that because I wanted to break the illusion immediately of audience performers. I wanted to get some sort of communication between them. So I wrote that specifically, that he would address them and wave at them and relax them.
Be cool with them, joke around with them.
It wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary because from the moment he walked out on stage, the audience were up for it. It was terrific. You just feel it in the place. They wanted to be entertained. They weren't being demanding. They weren't being reticent. They just wanted to have a good time. And
that's what they did. I heard them. I mean, I heard them laughing at all. Also, you had a lot of good English speakers. A lot of people understood English in the audience, so they got the script and everything. And also just being outside.
We also, we worked on gesture among the performers for those that didn't speak English. We had lots of, kind of, I love you, but it can't happen. And apparently from talking to people afterwards, one or two scenes were confusing, but most non-English speakers were able to follow almost the entire story. They certainly knew what had happened at the end.
They knew everything that was happening?
Yeah.
All right, this Wednesday is going to be in Kyrenia. What kind of turnout are you expecting in Kyrenia?
I don't know. We don't know. You're just
going to do it?
We'll stick up the posters and we'll invite people and we hope for the best.
All the costumes and everything, where did the funding for that come from? All the costumes, you said 100 cassettes and all that. Where did that funding come from?
From within the resources of those people partaking in that musical.
Oh, from the you and the actors?
Yeah.
Everyone just kind of chipped in and...
Yes, everyone. I'd say at some stage most people in the show would have had to put their hand in their pocket for something.
So they had to pay.
And parents, like the sheets, for example, the sheets that we used on Aquarius, they were all whipped off. They were all parentally owned sheets.
Really?
Yes, I told them, bring in a sheet tomorrow, and they said, okay, and they brought in a sheet, and then we got the scissors out and started cutting holes in them, and they were like,
So everyone in the musical felt like it must have been a big team effort, everybody just chipping in wherever they can. I mean, there's...
Yeah, and some people were terrific. So, we realized at one stage, because literally it got in the last 2 weeks, I'd be into my office before 8 in the morning, and I'd have a list like this. And we have to go through them one by one to try and get through everything. And there was one day I realized that we were going to be a day late getting our publicity up in Kyrenia for the event. And it was about 10 o'clock at night. And we'd had a long day and we'd had rehearsals for the cast and crew and things. And I sat down and I said, we really should have got posters up in Kyrenia in the harbour this evening. It was a Friday evening. And the two twins, Rafi and Rudy from tourism, I went, we'll go. And Denis from the radio station. And the three of them got into a car at 10 o'clock at night, had worked all day, and they drove to Kyrenia and they talked to people and stuck up posters until 3 in the morning.
Unbelievable. Really? She's Denis Derleyen. She's the assistant director of the play. So she was your right-hand woman during the play? When did she jump on? Since the beginning, was she helping, or?
Not really the beginning. She was... assistant directing is it's a difficult job.
I can imagine.
It's difficult because as an assistant director, first of all, when you're learning the trade, and he says that as though he's some sort of like director elite assistant director, because I'm always learning. But Denise would sit in on rehearsals and watch how we were doing things, and then at the end of rehearsal she'd make suggestions about what she thought, because she loves the music and she knows the show. And some of her suggestions I would take on board. She'd have a list, what about this? And I'd think about it and I'd say yes or no. And what she liked, what she suggested that was good, I would include. And many good suggestions came from Denise. And then as things pick up, then you have to start as an assistant director doing some administrative work, getting in touch with newspapers, and then driving around.
And she had to do all that as well?
Yes. So I would say that Denise in the last 10 days has been extremely busy, but she did a great job.
Because she's also a student.
And she didn't actually get the credit on Thursday night for the job she did, because I hate, and this is something now that I will rectify. I'm really uncomfortable with organising post-show congratulations, flowers, parties. If someone says, like, where's the party afterwards, I just run them out of the room. All I'm concerned about before the show goes on is the quality of the show. So people were saying, well, how are we going to congratulate and acknowledge work? And I said, I don't sort it out among yourselves.
Yeah.
It really has nothing to do with me.
It gets too difficult.
It's as though I feel, and maybe this is like some Irish thing or something, I feel it's like asking for trouble. If you're pre-preparing who you're going to congratulate before the show has gone ahead, I think it's almost like it's a bad omen. Your show might suddenly just flop and say, listen, you're being presumptuous here. So as a result, I didn't have any standing order for acknowledging people. And when the show was finished, I really should have got Denis up and Lee, who did the sound engineering, and a number of other people, and say, like, this is the core people.
Well, I saw you take Lee out. You try. It's also confusing though. After a 90-minute show, and after you're feeling all your feelings, you know,
yeah, sure.
during the show you're so emotional and everything, and afterwards you're not thinking. But it was written down, and everybody knows.
That's true. So I mean, I tried at least to make sure that in the program acknowledgements that everybody was acknowledged. Yeah.
And it's probably also difficult to tell people what everybody actually went through. I mean, the word, like for example, the word director. It doesn't sound like every single thing that you did, or assistant director. But she's driving around all night, putting up posters and stuff. So the job is more than the word that we.
Oh yeah, absolutely. things, you know, it's not a director's job, for example, to find a violin microphone.
Yeah.
But we had one made. You know, things like that. It's.
What kind of microphone is that? Like one of the small ones for the shirt?
Yeah, exactly. That clips on underneath the wooden frame of a violin.
Oh.
We couldn't find one anywhere, so we eventually went and we found a guy who made one.
He made one?
Yes.
And then you hooked up to someone?
Yeah, and it worked, that kind of thing. I mean, that's just one thing. That's only one thing from 1,000, but that's just what popped into my mind now because I'm looking at the microphone here. Yeah, really.
So it's all those small things, and and that's part of the job. That's if you take on the job, I guess you're going to have to.
Sure.
You're going to have.
And
to
people, you see, anyone who's ever involved in performance, they understand this absolutely. If people are not involved in performance, they might think at some level that you're insane to go to this kind of trouble, or they say, why would you put yourself to that trouble? But if you do really enjoy performance, then it's not actually trouble. It's hard work sometimes, but you enjoy it. Because you know if the show is good that you get the applause is a greater reward.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's it from and it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
8:15.
Yeah,
Everybody make sure that you go.
Absolutely, you get your buddies there. And no mobile phones. And that guy from Thursday night who was sitting about 5 rows up behind me having the full-on conversation, I know what you look like. No mobile phones, no talking or translating, and make sure if you come along that you have a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That's it. That's Wednesday night, 8:15, the musical event of the year here. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming to the show. Hope to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
From me, Manson Bailey, and Manson's Music Box, that's it for this week. I'll see you again next week with more great video clips from Europe and America and more interviews from people in Famagusta and North Cyprus who are making dents in the musical scene. See you next week. Have a good week.